Okay, so Wolves 1, Manchester City 5. Not really a scoreline I was expecting, to be honest. Losing to Man City, no shame in that. Man City do this a lot to people, no shame. Wolves, Man City put 4, 5 past people all the time. But the way the defence capitulated a bit, I was surprised. When we went into the game, everyone was looking at Manchester City's defensive issues and going, okay, they've got injuries. We might have a chance here. We might be able to, cement eighth. But if anything, it was our back five and midfield that kind of cost us. It was our defensive issues, not Manchester City's. And look, that wasn't. Let's not get it twisted. I know it's a 5-1 game, but it wasn't really. It was more a 3-1 or a 4-1 game. But ultimately, that doesn't mean anything. The game's a game. We've conceded 5 goals because we deserve to. And look, it doesn't really mean anything. The season's pretty much done anyway. But I think the lineup was a bit odd. I don't really get why Johnny was playing at right centre back and Chiquinho at wing back and whatever. I don't really get it. But look, I'm not saying it was all negative. It started off pretty well. Obviously, Dendonga got a good goal. He actually did what he's supposed to do. He's had this myth, especially in the first 2 years at Wolves, that he makes these like great runs into the box or whatever, which I've never really seen him do, to be honest. When he does do them, he never really finishes anyway. But it was good work from Pedro Neto. It was a good pick out. And it kind of felt, I wasn't there, but it sounded like the atmosphere was pretty good, and it felt okay, maybe at one of these nights. But after that, it never really kicked on. And look, Kevin De Bruyne was brilliant. Man City were great. There's no shame in losing to them. I guess the only complaint you can have is the pressing on some of the goals and I guess the referee. But generally, it wasn't a fight. Like, although that was the worst scoreline of the season, it wasn't actually the worst performance. We've lost games 1-0 this season to Burnley and stuff that were actually technically worse games than that. I guess Chiquinho was a positive. I don't think he was as good as some people were making out, at least relative to his position, if that makes sense. Like, I thought Aït-Nouri had a better game than Chiquinho in terms of as a wing back, right? When Chiquinho was here, he was incredible. Because that's what he is. He's a winger. I don't really get what this whole right wing back experiment is. He's done it a couple of times. I don't mind it off the bench, but from the start, it's a bit odd. It was only a few weeks ago that Bruno Lage was saying Chiquinho is on the same level as Chem Campbell. You can't even get in the squad. Now all of a sudden, Chiquinho is a better right back than Keanu Herver and Johnny. Like, it's a bit weird. I don't really get the logic. And that's not me having a go at Chiquinho, by the way. He's a 22-year-old kid playing his first Premier League 70 minutes or whatever, playing out of position. He did well in his attacking sense, but he's not a right wing back. That's not a dig at him. It's like when Adama used to do it. You couldn't really slag him off for being brain dead at the back because it's something he wasn't doing. When he was getting caught out, then all of a sudden you've got Johnny at centre back who's not a centre back. Bolly was bad. Cody coming off the line. I thought Sarr was dodgy. But look, you can move on from these games. Wolves in our 4 years in the Prem, I can't really remember us conceding 5 goals. I think the only time I can remember us losing by this deficit was when we lost to Burnley 4-0 last season when Chris Wood got a hat trick. But we don't really lose games like that. And look, this happens. This happens to loads of teams all the time. It happens to Leeds every other week. But it's on this Norwich game now. With the results that kind of gone around us recently, 8th is actually in real jeopardy if we don't beat Norwich, even if we get a point. Brighton are only 3 points behind us. Leicester are only 5 points behind us, and they've got a game in hand. Even Palace, maybe not Palace, but even Villa and Palace could kind of catch up technically. We have to beat that Norwich game now. He took Neto and Jimenez off quite early. I assume that's because we know we've got Norwich in a few days. We have to win that game. Norwich are god-awful. They haven't won any of the last 5 games. They got smashed up by Leicester earlier on in the day. We can't lose that game. If we beat Norwich, that's pretty much 8 wrapped up. But if we lose that Norwich game, then get smacked up by Liverpool, all of a sudden that Chelsea game kind of meant nothing. This game looks a lot worse, and it kind of just loses the whole point in the season. Not the whole point, but it feels like the progression of this season that was kind of there a few months ago. All of a sudden, it's kind of dropped off a bit. But overall, it was a bad performance generally. But Man City quality, you can kind of ignore it. I thought the lineup was bizarre. But it's just one of them games. It happens. We've been kind of lucky that we've always had a good defence over the last 5 years, that we don't really see these very often because of the way we play. If Wolves do open up to a back 4 like people want us to, like, you could have kind of seen how we could have played a back 4 today if it lined up differently. It could have kind of looked like that, and we could have played a 4-3-3 or something. If that happens next season, we will get smacked up a couple of times. But yeah, anyway, overall, it was a bad performance, but it's on to Norwich now. Norwich is the big game. Get 8th wrapped up, slap Norwich up a bit, and kind of just get the mood up in the club. But But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and yeah, peace.